Does God exist? Well, let's explore it. If we think about existence and life itself, the keys to this answer is there. If we say, okay, we have life, what can we be certain about in any given moment is, well, we exist. There is existence. Okay. And if we say, okay, there's existence, where did it come from? Does it have a beginning? If it does, what would that beginning come from? Where would that beginning come from? The origins of life itself. If you go back, we can weigh out our options. And we can either say, well, maybe life is infinite. Maybe there is no beginning to life or existence. Maybe existence existed and has existed forever. Great. If that's true, then what's the foundation? What's the cause? What's the substratum? What's the core of existence? At the heart of existence, what is it that makes existence exist? Well, if we look at it, we'd have to say, what is it about life that we can determine? One of the things we can say about our life experience on Earth is the expression of life doesn't seem to be limited. In other words, there's the potential for life on Earth, right? And life itself expresses in infinite ways different life forms. You know, if you look around on the Earth, not only is there a seemingly infinite, there's beings and organisms that are on this planet that we live on that we have no idea about. We don't know anything about them, and we probably will never know. Millions of different types of beings that exist within our lifetime. Insects and organisms, and even in the bottoms of the ocean, there's all kinds of beings that live there that we'll never know about, that we'll never see. Even within our present day, there's so much expression that we have no idea about, infinitely. And not only that, but organisms, living things, are always evolving and changing. There's constant flux of new beings coming into existence that never existed before. And there's beings that have been here for however long and die back into life. And that in itself says something about life and existence, is infinite in its potential to express itself, which says something about whatever existence in life comes from must itself be an infinite potential. This is something that we can say, okay? Maybe there's an origin to life. If there was, whatever it came from, whatever it birthed from, must be an infinite source of potential. And not only that, but an infinite source of life itself. Meaning it has sort of a power to it to give life to begin with. And that's just our little planet that we've explored. That's just our little, let me get my third eye on straight. There we go. That's just our little planet. We have an entire cosmos out there. An unfathomable universe out there of who knows what. Known and unknown is infinite. So one of the things we can say through this little dialogue here is whatever it is, we can call the source of creation, its source of existence, God, is an infinite presence, an infinite power, whatever we want to say. Now, if we explore this a little further, something interesting happens. Everything that comes into existence lives for joy. Everything lives to fulfill itself in its existence to the greatest way that it possibly can. Everything lives and actually even stretches its ability to enjoy, its ability to thrive. Everything. The whole concept of evolution, of things evolving, communicates that life itself is always looking for a greater way of being and living. I mean, just sit with that for a moment. Everything that comes into existence not only lives to its highest potential, but actually tries to stretch that potential. That says something about the core and the source of existence itself. If we want to use the word God, we can use the word God. Infinite. It speaks to infinity when we look at it. Anything that's born, even me as I am born, I can live towards my highest potential, or not. I can also deny it. But I can live to my highest potential. And then I can also stretch and push to exceed my limitations. And that gets ingrained and written in my DNA, in my genes. And then I have children, and I pass that on to other beings, and they take whatever I have done and take it further. Exploring potentials. And so one of the things I want to share here is that that's an enjoyment. It includes struggle, and it includes challenge, and it includes stress. Yet, endeavoring to move towards greater being is a joyful endeavor, despite challenges. Humans, we happen to have an interesting capacity to wallow, to remember, and kind of sit and bathe in pain, and elongate our pains into great suffering. We have this ability to do that because of our memory and we have this thing that we do called ruminating, where we just kind of stew and revolve and loop on things that have happened. And we try to change things that have happened. We get a little stuck in those kinds of ways. This is one of the pitfalls of being a human. However, with a willingness, with a confident, positive willingness to keep moving, to explore this potential, to explore the potential to thrive in existence. This is a joyful endeavor despite the challenges. In fact, the challenges, the pains even, are what we can say is what it feels like to grow. The pains and challenges of life is simply what it feels like to evolve. I remember when I was growing up, I had a very fast growth spurt, and I had some weird condition thing that my bones grew faster than my muscles grew. They weren't in sync with each other at the beginning, and that was very painful for me. It literally, think about it, even like my skin didn't grow as fast as my bones grew, so it was literally like I was being like torn up. My muscles were being stretched out as I was growing. And it was really painful. So for me, it was just a very vivid metaphor of like sometimes to grow fast might hurt more, and my spiritual journey was very similar too. I had great depression, great anger, angst, apathy, grief towards life. And that just burned in me so deeply. But the other side of it, when I chose and cultivated a power and a willingness to be greater, to live greater, to heal, something powerful happened inside of me. On the other side of that pain was tremendous, powerful joy and purpose. So this is what's available. And the point that I want to make is the eternal benevolence of the source of life itself and existence. The eternal benevolence of it. It is all for greatest good. And we, as human beings, have the choice of whether we bury ourselves in the sorrows or we explore our infinite potential. We hold ourselves and limit ourselves by anchoring in suffering, by anchoring in pain. Pain is like the conduit towards awakening sometimes. It's the agent of awakening is suffering sometimes. Sometimes that's what we need to crack open, to break through arrogance, rigid beliefs. Sometimes we need to hurt a little bit to break out of that. Our illusions. Even sometimes our illusions, are satisfying to us. But they'll inevitably keep us down and hold us back and limit us. And there's a perpetual sorrow when we live in an illusion and when we live by our limitations. So the meaning of life, in a way, the message, the whisper of God and divinity that's within us is to stretch our potential and live to thrive greater every day. It says something about joy, actually, too. That there's no cap on joy. There's no cap on love. Love doesn't have a ceiling. Joy and spiritual happiness and fulfillment doesn't have a ceiling. So the stretching, this exploration of the potential, the infinite potential of existence that's inside of us because we're alive. It's evidence that the source of creation is alive inside of us because we're conscious and aware. That gives us meaning. It gives us purpose in our life to explore that, to be it, to allow it, to move and guide our life path towards who knows what incredible things can happen. For some of us, it might just be an internal quest and journey of whatever it may be, overcoming, struggle. It could be very simple. It could be some kind of triumphant, victorious thing out in the world, like Mahatma Gandhi. For each of us, it's different. For some of us, it might be totally secret and never even detected by anybody else. And for some, many may know. But nonetheless, no one's life is any less than anyone else's life. Because we're all on the same journey, maybe at different levels, but all on the same path, all moved by the same sort of fundamental things. Some individual variations here and there, but we all have that source of existence and life within us. So is there a God? If you want to use the word, there's something precious. There's something mysteriously powerful. And there's something absolutely benevolent, infinite about life and existence that we have access to. We're human. We have access to that. I mean, obviously we do, because we can contemplate it. I don't feel that a contemplation would come into our awareness if it wasn't possible for us to discover it for sure. Human, God, purpose, love, peace. Namaste.